Hey, Pro Organizers. This is Melissa Klug, and you are listening to the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. Professional organizing changed my entire life. After 20 years of working at huge companies, I started working for myself, opened an organizing business, and grew it to six figures. And now I spend all day, every day here at Pro Organizer Studio teaching professional organizers around the world how to grow the business of their dreams. I'm so excited that you're here listening, and I am ready to get started. I'm just calling it the week of Cabri on the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. Cabri has been on the podcast before, so you might have heard her in some prior episodes, but she is just hands down one of my favorite people, period, full stop, in the entire professional organizing industry across the globe. She and I decided to have a conversation, and as our conversations go, they veer and they zigzag and they go left and right and sideways in the best ways. And so I had a bunch of really good content. And one of the things that I know about my brain, and Cabri will talk about her brain as an ADHD diagnosis, is that I need smaller doses of things. And what I don't want to have happen is that you miss any of the good stuff that we talked about because it's buried in an hour and a half long podcast. So I have decided it's going to be the week of Cabri here, and I'm going to divide this up into several different shorter episodes, but they will all come out this week. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is because I myself am in a period of my business, both my professional organizing business at Home by 11 and in my Pro Organizer Studio business, where I am taking time to reflect and figure out what is working and what isn't working and what I need to change and what I want to change. And that is a lot of what we're talking about. And so I want you to have this in small bites so that you can take the time to absorb what we're saying and then maybe take it back and think about it before I hit you with something else that you need to think about. So I hope that you enjoy it. Before I start with the Capri, a couple of different things. First of all, if you would like to spend 31 short but valuable minutes with me, I have a brand new workshop. It's totally free. It is called How Professional Organizers Can Get Clients Without Using Social Media, which that will be ironic when you listen to this podcast because we do talk about social media a little bit. And then I also want to let you know that our Organizing Essentials and our Inspired Organizer programs are both open for enrollment. We have the most wonderful people across the globe that are in these programs. And if you are interested in chatting with me about whether you are a good fit, please email me hello@proorganizerstudio.com. We will schedule a Zoom and chat about it. And I would love to have you join Cabri and me and hundreds of other amazing organizers across the world in learning how to make our businesses better. All right. So today, talking about lots of things, including social media and teams and lots of stuff. And let's get started. We just had the 40-minute long free podcast, which I'm convinced should be its own podcast feed.
Mhm.
Just like make this Cabri and Melissa just talk about things and record it and just put it out there. No editing, no nothing. I'm happy to have you back on the podcast.
I am happy to be on here. It's been a while. It's been like
It's
a
been a
couple
while.
months or so. Yeah.
Been a while. I want to talk about you a little bit because you are not a talk about yourself a lot kind of person, but I love you for so many reasons. So many
Thank you.
reasons. No, I mean it. I want to talk about it a little bit. So Cabri is the kind of person that she will tell you exactly what you need to hear. I am someone, we've talked about this before. I am very sensitive. So like feedback for me is something that is hard. I've worked very hard on accepting it. And feedback is very important. You have a great way of saying things that I'm just like, you could tell me that my hair looks terrible and that you hate everything that I'm doing. And I'd still be like, I love her so much. So thank you for whatever it is that you have in you that makes you do that. I'm here for it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I have decided that we all have different personas as coaches and mentors in the group.
Yeah.
And I am just that tough love, kind of brutal, but still loving. Like I mean it with love as much
Yeah.
as I can give. But yeah, no.
Self-love still has love in it. That's the point and one of the things that I have realized about, any sort of feedback is most of us on an island, running these businesses by ourselves. And like, you need someone from the outside to be like, hey, girl, have you ever thought about this? because you look at your own thing all the time and you don't see it. We've talked about this a million times. It's just like clients who have a simple solution right in front of them and they don't see it. You need those outside people. So I'm happy to have you as one of my people.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and you can always tell me if I'm being too harsh and
No, no.
too rough.
Okay, this is a random thing. I have a long-term client I do marketing for. She is not in organizing at all. She has this thing that she did with her kids when they were younger, and they would have like a code word that if her kids needed to talk to her about something like really important, but it was serious, they could just use that word. So she implemented the word with me. She's like, if I ever am asking you for too much or doing too much, all you just need to say is nacho. I'm like, first of all, nachos, delicious. But it's hilarious because she will send something to me and she'll be like, "Listen, you can nacho me right now, but could you do XYZ?" And so I love that idea. Like maybe I need to have a word with you of I need you to spaghetti or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I also know that tough love is kind of like love languages in a sense.
Sure.
It's my giving love language when it comes to
Yeah.
communication and criticism. It's not everybody's receiving. And so I have to gauge. And sometimes that's hard on the internet or like in a Facebook group. And
Yeah.
I like go back and read something and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe could have said that. But anybody that has had a problem with it has either said something to me and I'm like, I'm so sorry, but I still love you. I just needed you to hear
Right.
that. Or they're just like, oh, yeah, great point. And I'm like, okay, no big deal.
Well, but here's where I think it comes from, and this is a really important point, is it comes from a place of passion. You are extremely passionate about businesses and building businesses, your own business and other people's business. And I think that's really important. And where is that tough love coming from? And it is coming from a place of, oh my gosh, I'm just so excited. I want people to do things in a way that works for them.
Absolutely. And I want to see them succeed. And even if
Yes.
that means I have to be a little rough and a little brutal, like
Yeah.
I want it to benefit you in a good way. So
Also, she's overselling it. She's really, she is not that brutal. She actually gives exceptionally good advice in a very good way. So I think you're being a little too harsh on yourself, ironically. But the whole point of this conversation is one of your many jobs. So you are the head of Minimize Then Organize, which
mhm.
is in Lubbock, Texas, and you run a team there, a very successful organizing business. But you also serve multiple roles actually at Pro Organizer Studio. So tell us a little bit about your journey in organizing.
So I feel like the journey before Pro Organizer Studio came into my life is kind of boring. And I tell people that is I was not making good money. I was not running a business well. I was not just doing the things that I feel like I should have been. And then enter Pro Organizer Studio. And that really was like, I will continue to contribute my change, growth, success to Pro Organizer Studio. That was the catalyst for me better understanding myself, better understanding my ideal clients, figuring out how to brand, how to market things because I just didn't know. Like I had never done that before. And so joined the course, as we all do, make a whole bunch of changes because we're learning. And again, going back to that passionate side of things of I was on fire for all things. And it was also one of those muscles that you flex of you're in the course and you're hearing somebody teach you this is how you market to ideal clients. And so you start to implement these pieces or you start to work on them and then you see them succeed.
Right.
And that's whenever it's like, oh, okay, that worked. Let me try another one. And you
Yeah.
just continually flex that muscle and it grows and it scales and it evolves. And so that is a huge part of the story. But then the next part that I get super excited about is I don't even know how long it's been. It's been years, I
Been a
guess.
while. Well, because you started in Pro Organizer Studio in 2018, is that right?
It was either late 2018, early 2019.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
been a while.
remember.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. And I was probably in the group. We did the mentor thing 2020? Yes. So y'all opened up the group and basically said, hey, we need additional people to help comment, coach, train, be additional support for the many organizers that are in the Inspired Organizer Facebook group. And they're like, hey, you want it? You want to come help us do this? And I was like, hell yeah.
Yes, I do.
Literally. So then I got to step into this like new role of yes, I was still passionate about organizing and I was still passionate about business, but I was even more passionate about making sure that organizers who are either getting started or maybe in a slump, no leads coming in, need to rebrand, that they were getting the encouragement and support that they needed to take the next step. That's where that kind of tough love piece comes in too, is I will hold you accountable. I don't know what that is technically called. I don't necessarily feel like that's a coach or a mentor. I'm more of the get on you. Did you actually do it? I don't want to make you feel bad, but I'm also not going to let you sit and live in excuses
Yep.
or that just middle ground that we can let ourselves get into. And so I think that's where I got really excited on the mentor side of things. Of not only do I get to help people and support them and love them, but by God, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
And I think something, just really quickly, I think something that's important too is that, we give you all the support you need, but it's not one size fits all. It is, you have people that are at a lot of different phases of their business who are there to say, here is my experience. And it is not just the way I think, it is not just the way you think. You get a lot of perspectives to help you. But the key thing is, we are going to tell you, you need to do something. You
Mhm.
can't just complain about something and then not do any of the things to try to fix the thing you're complaining about.
Yes. And I would say I kind of use my business as a test dummy for some of those things.
Yeah.
Like, I like the things that we do, but I see other organizers brainstorming or thinking, hey, what if we changed our sales process? Or what if we did this differently? And I'm like, ooh, let me see if I can get on the action. And I feel like you have a pretty good idea if it's going to work for your business, for your market fast. But it's just kind of cool to test it out and see. And it's that constant challenge of evolution, of things are changing, business is changing, the industry is changing. Things have to adapt or they're going to die. It's a challenge, but it's like a fun challenge of like, how can I do better? How can I push myself harder? How can I be more successful or more profitable? And so I really enjoy that side of things. And
I love
so
seeing you get excited about things too. That's something that I wish for people, like, and there'll be some people that are watching this on YouTube, and so you can see, like, your face is lighting up, like, I can tell when you are excited about something, like, I can tell it on text, I can tell it in your face, I can tell it on and that lights me up, it makes me happy.
just recently I did another podcast, it's local, and they were just talking about business stuff. And they're like, why do you love organizing? And I was like, if I'm being real honest, I don't just absolutely love organizing. I love the challenge and I love the problem solving. And that applies to a client space or figuring out how to walk through them in an emotional, weird setting that, may involve clutter, may not. It works for business. It also works for businesses that are struggling or maybe that are on a cusp of new things in the industry. I just like the challenge,
Yeah,
honestly.
it's fun. I want people to get excited about their businesses. Like, I wake up every day and I'm excited to go to work, and I have never really had jobs in the past where I've been like, "Yay, I get to work today." And I think that giving people that level of excitement, like, I want other people to feel that level of excitement in their own business.
I do hope that they feel that. And I know that I can be a tad bit overwhelming at times, but again, tough love. It comes with love and it comes from a sense of passion. So,
Yeah. And that's
um,
something that we try to instill in people too, is
yes, yes,
you should be excited about your business, and if you're not, let's help fix that. So,
yes. And then that kind of, so pro organizer studio, becoming a mentor, been in that role for a little bit. And then this is another one of those challenges that I like, but we've talked about the social media thing. Would you say it's your strong suit? Or like, do you just have anti social media? Like,
no, so I just feel very strongly that there are so many people in the organizing industry who either they don't get in it, or they're afraid of social media, or they think that's the only way to get clients. And so they go all in on it and it doesn't go well for them, and then they get discouraged. So my big thing is, you can build an organizing business totally without social media. And I love to teach people that. But I also respect that there are people like you who truly love it, and truly you have built a business on social media. Like I said, it's not one size fits all. I will
mhm,
happily teach you how you don't have to do it, but I also want to engage with people who are like, I love doing social media. The
yes,
difference is, if you hate it and it's the worst thing you've ever done in your entire life, you are not required to have it. But someone like you who thrives on it and genuinely enjoys building that community, I'm all for it.
I love that, and I think that's where we've had a lot of conversations about the social media thing because you do have that stance, and you will die on that hill. Like, you
I will.
strongly will die on that hill where I'm on the opposite, maybe not on the opposite side, but I'm like, "Yeah, you need
We're
Instagram. You
we're
need
on
Facebook."
neighboring hills. We're on neighboring hills, and we're still nice to each other, but
Yes.
we occasionally look at each other from our hills and go, "I don't wanna live on that hill," and that's okay.
But that is so good because our business is built the way that it has been, and we do get a ton of referrals and new clients from social media. There is me on my hill looking over and saying, Maybe I'm not optimizing email lists. Maybe I'm not optimizing my website and SEO. Maybe I'm not networking or doing other sort of lead gen type activity. I recognize that could be a weakness for me. But in the meantime, I'm still going to push my strength, which is social media. And I wouldn't even call it a strength. It is my creative outlet for
Yeah.
having fun and behind the scenes. And I like the not polished. I feel like your website can be the polished, pretty, this is who I am, this is what I do. You're either going to love me or hate me. Facebook, Instagram, social media in general can be, we're fun. We like to have fun. We like to make jokes. We are not perfect people. This is our mistake. This was our mess up. And it gives that human element that you might not get through reading through reviews on Google or reading a website or landing on a landing page or any of the above.
But that is where we align perfectly
Yes.
because there are a couple things I believe, and I wanna go back to something you said. You're like, "Hey, I love social media," but then I look over at your hill and I go, "Maybe I'm not doing all these other things that I'm very big on doing." I did the same thing and I said, "Maybe there's something about social media that I am missing, and I wanna make sure that I'm honoring that and listening to that." But the key thing that I think is incredibly important here is you use your social media, one, as a creative outlet, and two, as an outlet to show your personality and your team's personality of what are you going to get when you come with us. I
Hmm.
think my issue sometimes with social media is everybody feels like they have to project this perfect image of what organizing is.
Hmm.
And I believe that's home edit's fault. We can have another podcast on that at a different time. But organizing isn't about perfection, in my opinion. It is about making things right for a client. Is that also gonna look beautiful? Of course it is. But I just think some of the stuff that's out there on social, I want you to show your personality.
Hmm.
That's what I want for anybody who wants to engage.
Yes. And it's hard, especially when you take the stance of I just want it to be fun
Yeah.
and transparent. And there are people that will try to, slide into the DMs and say, "Hey, do you want me to fix your grid?" And I'm like, "No, we like it just how ugly it is. Please leave me alone."
Yep. Well, also, Instagram has changed radically. It
Radically.
used to be that your grid really mattered and that aesthetics really mattered, and the only way you were gonna do well on Instagram is to do that. Now it's much more casual. Will it change again? Yeah, probably.
Mm.
Maybe this afternoon, I don't know. But that is something that is a lot less important, which I think takes some of the pressure off of
Yes.
organizers.
Yes. I also feel like it's important mentioning, and I promise we'll get off social media. It's part of the story. It's super important to maybe cast a wide net on social media.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about pain points, whether it's us talking to our potential ideal clients on, are you struggling with this? Does your house look like this? Does your house feel like this? It is a lot easier to convey that in a very generic kind of blanket statement, put it out there. And then if somebody connects with it, then they can start a conversation in DMs or they can reach out for a consult. Same thing applies to us in this setting of there are potential organizers, maybe baby business owners that are sitting out there on the sidelines saying, well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know how to grow a team. I don't know if I should have product or if I should just buy it as needed. I don't know if I should be working with these types of clients or these types of clients. Like there's those questions that are sitting out there. And so us being able to utilize social media and say, hey, here's an option of ways to do things. Or hey, if you're struggling in your business with this, we want to be that resource. We want to provide you those answers. We want to even give you that brainstorming power within our community of let's talk about it. What is a new way we could do things? What's a different way we could do maybe old things? What is a way that, and this ties into the industry as a whole changing, our world changing, business changing. We get to offer those solutions to other people that they might not have had before or the community to help get them to that answer. And that to me is like gold, chef's kiss gold.
And one of the reasons that so I said you're a huge part of what we do at Pro Organizer Studio. Your visions for where social fits and all that kind of stuff. I have said I have opened myself up because I said it's not my forte. And I would like to have someone that is really enthusiastic about it and that will teach me some things too. Just quick funny story for everyone about social media though. This is legitimately hilarious to me and we'll see if I leave it in after I edit this, but I have been much more active on Pro Organizer Studio social media. We have been adding stuff, we've been doing stuff, we've been putting out stories up, all the things, right? We have lost followers in the last few days. Of every time we add something, we actually lose people. And I'm like, listen, we're great people. What's happening? I'm only saying this to you in case this happens to you. And there are a bunch of reels about this too. Like when I spend 3 hours working on a reel and then I lose 7 followers and blah, blah, blah. So just know this is also part of the process.
I did notice that last night, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, "Man, that is a gut punch."
That
Like,
is a gut
no,
punch, right? You're like, what? Look at we're adorable and fun.
but on the flip side, like, our engagement has gone up and our story views have gone up, and we have organizers that I would not have ever known or talked to that are asking
Totally.
questions, and I'm like, "Heck yes, give me a challenge to help you solve. All for it."
And that right there is what I think is important about social. And
Mhm,
that's the pressure that people put on themselves, and it's not the right pressure. You want to create a social environment. That's why it's
mhm.
social media. You want to create a conversation. It's not necessarily about, I'm going to go find clients. It is, I want to create a community. I want to create a relationship. I want to be social. That's what it is to me. So,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we didn't
That
need
was the
those
very
followers.
we didn't. No, we didn't. It's fine. I'll be fine. My ego will be fine.
We're gonna be
Um,
fine, and everything's fine.
yeah.
But I wanna say this because you are going to be seeing Cabri and me both on social, and I totally understand back in the day when Jen ran social, you're like, "Wait, who's this Melissa person? Who is she coming in?" So now we're gonna have Cabri too.
Absolutely. I even have more intentions and plans to have even more organizers join us, maybe even on a temporary basis. Like we want to bring community to social of different organizers, different backgrounds, different markets, different ways of doing things. And how can we help you if you might be in the gray area or struggling or maybe even on the sidelines and not sure if you want to start yet? That's what it's all about.
And I do love that there are so many different people that we serve. I don't want people to think, "Well, I've been in business for 5 years, so I think I know what I'm doing, but I'm not getting enough clients." I wanna help you.
Mm,
Same thing as people who are brand new and they wanna shortcut their success path. There are a lot of different people that we can help happily.
absolutely. Absolutely. That was a very, like, long, drawn out explanation of, like, my progression and journey through the
Yeah.
organizer studio, but that's where we're
Well,
at.
talk for just a couple seconds about your organizing business too, because you have a great team. You have an you have really grown from where you were as the baby organizer.
Yeah. So things are changing this year, and I have talked a little bit about this on social media, but we have grown and we have seen a lot of success, and we also see the industry shifting and more people being interested in it and wanting to join. And so our team has exploded this year. More opportunities for team members that we had actually sat down to potentially hire, and more team members that we have actually hired ever in the history. And so we're just growing and scaling in that way. And it has forced me to take a step back and say, hello, crazy woman, me, speaking to myself,
Yeah.
you're supposed to be running the business. You are not supposed to be in the business every single day. Love the challenge. I kind of hate it at the same time, but that's where we're at. As far as growth, then I'm definitely taking a back seat to hands on client projects and focusing more on how I can strengthen my team, how I can train them, how I can raise them up to be able to handle the things without calling me and
Yeah.
working with clients. It's been super this is like caveat side note. It's been super, super exciting to see people that I've had a relationship with, that I have worked with on a one-on-one solo organizer basis that now have been introduced to my team. And my team even has a better connection with them than maybe I had. They relate on some sort of way, or they have similar life circumstances or life stories. And it has been super awesome because they come back to me and they're like, "Yeah, did you know about so and that they struggled with this or, they overcame this." And I'm like, "I had no idea." Like, we never got to that point of the conversation, but I'm super excited and glad that you connected with them on such a deep level that they shared that with you. That's super, super powerful. And so our team is really good as utilizing those as their strengths when it comes to connecting not just previous relationships that I had, but even with new people who may be completely unfamiliar to me, nurturing those relationships and growing that connection to where we do not leave a client's house as a client and organizer relationship. We leave a client's house as new friends
Yeah.
in some capacity.
And that's where you and I definitely align on our vision of who clients are and what they are. And I love too that you have realized that you have to step back a little bit, but that you can trust your team. And that's part of your process is you hire people that you really trust and then you let them go fly. And it's
Mhm.
not just your way or the highway. That's a hard thing to do. I can tell you from personal experience in many points in my career. So,
Oh, yeah. It's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but it's exciting because all of these things, personal business, pro organizer studio, they're all kind of commingling in this very timely manner. And the same things that I'm like pulling from you of give me this, let me
yeah,
do this thing. I
yeah,
realize I have team members that are also asking that of me. And I'm like, it's a give and take. It's an ecosystem that works together fluidly and it works well. We just have to let go a little bit. And
yeah.
so it's been an exciting challenge, probably the most difficult one to date, but all still very good.
Letting go, I think, and especially when our businesses are really personal to us. I mean, that's the other thing is letting go is hard in anything, but I think especially if you have built a business from nothing, like you and I had nothing before we started our organizing businesses. And our identities are really tied up in that. Like it's my
Mhm.
baby, right? And then to go, oh well, I guess I'll let someone else take care of the baby. And yeah, it is really hard. And then you go, oh my gosh, they might be doing a better job than I am. They might be a better parent than I am.
It's a hard realization to come to, but it also is the point, we want them to do better than we do. Whether
Totally.
that's your kids and you're literally talking about your kids or you're taking that same analogy and applying it to your business, like it is my job to make sure that I am training them and raising them up in this world and industry and in this business to do far better than what I could.
And one of the things that we're not going to spill all of our plans for the year, but one of the things that we are doing, and one of the reasons that Cabri is such an important part of our mentoring and our coaching group is because you have a team and because you have gone through this large journey to get to a big team, you are really able to give people the good, the bad, and the ugly of that process, right? You have been through it all. And so that's important. And we're going to be talking a lot more about team stuff because that is a huge trend that we see in the industry. So many people are moving to teams.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from the How To Summit coming back from September. There was a lot of conversation around teams. There was also a lot of conversation on how teams affect the money and what that actually looks like. Cause I think there is some, maybe not even confusion, it's just a lack of knowledge when it comes to how the numbers actually flow and work when you're working with a team. And so for me, that is like that essentially having a team remove that cap of I can only work 40 hours, I'm charging X amount of dollars per hour, I'm stuck at that level, that's my glass ceiling.
Mhm.
Teams will completely blow that glass ceiling out of the way to where it becomes infinitely impossible of what you want to accomplish. Like any of it, it's all possible. And so that also comes with some like we talked about it after you and I on a one-on-one basis talked about maybe a little bit of lack of financial transparency too. It costs a lot to run a team. It
It
costs
does.
a lot to have a lot of softwares. It costs a lot to have everything looking very pretty. And so there's the conversation on yes, you have to manage those things and figure out what that margin looks like. But then there's also another conversation on the other side with maybe team members of yes, we're charging $100 an hour, but you're only getting paid $25 an hour. You have to think of all of those other back end expenses. And so I I personally don't feel like that's happening in the organizing industry at all. I don't feel like there's anybody that's coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm only making 10% or hey, our profit margins are negative." And so I definitely from a personal standpoint and from a coach perspective, I want to see more of that. I want to be able to
Yeah.
show what that looks like. I want to be able to analyze what that looks like for different businesses and different markets with, X amount of team members but I also want to be very transparent on yes, teams can grow your revenue, but it's going to cost some money. And
Yeah.
that's just brutal, honest truth.
And that's one of our jobs is to give you that full view,
Hmm.
It's like and one of the things that we will always do in our groups is we will say, here are the pros, here are the cons, here are the neutrals, here are things you need to consider. It's sort of like some of the things we talk about. I hear this is again another entire podcast, but whenever I hear, oh, I want to do something to have passive income. My thing is there's no such thing as passive income. Let me explain to you why there's no such thing as passive income. And so we want to give you the, hey, we're not telling you not to do this, but yes, please go grow a team. And yes, you are going to make a lot more revenue. Here is what you also need to consider on the back end as the things that you need to consider, which is why you have moved more into a CEO role than I'm going to make this underwear drawer look really pretty role.
Yes. Yes. And it's been super exciting and fun because I have never forced myself to pay that close attention to the numbers. But one of the I don't remember which speaker it was. She had a spreadsheet that she talked
Yeah.
about during the How To Summit that was like, know your numbers. And I
Know
was
your
like,
numbers. Yeah.
If you asked me those questions right now on the spot, I could not answer them, and I would probably be very wrong with just a guess. And
Mhm.
so all of quarter 4 last year was focusing on numbers and what that looks like, but that also is what forced me to make the change early this year as far as I need to be the CEO. I do not need to be in somebody's underwear drawer. If I
Yeah.
want this to be successful and if I want it to continue growing, that's where my strong suit is going to lie. And so, tough conversation I had to have with myself, but
Yeah.
we survived thus far.
Yeah. Okay, that was part 1 of the week of Cabri. Stay tuned later this week for more episodes. And I hope that you could join me at my brand new free workshop. Go to POroadmap.com or hit the show notes and you will click right through. And then once again, email me at hello@proorganizerstudio.com. And if you would like to have a Zoom chat with me about any of the things that we do for organizers here, I would love to chat with you. Just email me and I will talk to you soon. Have a great week, organizers.